California is well known for its cultural, racial, and ethnic diversity. However, diversity also means conflict. Behind the typical sunshine and beach scenery of Californian afternoon, gangs and crime become the embedded problem that disturbs the social system. California's Proposition 21, so-called Juvenile Justice Initiative, was approved on March 7, 2000, by a 62% majority of the state voters. It increased a variety of criminal penalties for crimes committed by youth, for example gang-related felonies, gang-related murder, home invasion robbery, and gave prosecutors, not judges, the power to decide whether juveniles as young as 14 will be tried as adults for crimes. Even though it was passed, the proposition was controversial. It faced many opposition from the Californians for Justice, the Critical Resistance Youth Force Coalition, and the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights. Subsequently, California was well known for its punishment industry, since it has the biggest prison population in America. US has a history of racial criminalization. The racialized perception of youth violence is to move youth out of the juvenile justice system. Minorities were more likely to be registered in the gang database, regardless of their backgrounds. The passage of Proposition 21 was in part due to the rise of youth crime and street gangs. The campaign for Proposition 21 showcased that 62% of American public believed that the youth crime rate was rising, despite youth crime being at its lowest level in decades. Instead of being praised for the decreasing crime rate, California's youth were being punished by Proposition 21. According to one San Francisco Chronicle editorial, seems a solution in search of a problem. Proposition makes no funding provisions and could cost California's social programs more than $300 million a year.
Because your parents, the administrators are scared of your parents.
I have a class where kids have to be sitting on desks. I mean, what is that? You know, they have money to spend on prisons. Can they fix the school? Then my school is full of asbestos. It has cracks on the wall.
It was funded by these companies to put Proposition 21 on the ballot, acting as a political favor to former California Governor Pete Wilson, a major proponent of the measure. Those corporations subsequently became sites of protest of young activists before March 7th, the voting date of Proposition 21.
Proposition 21 sparked a nascent street protest campaign in several cities around the state. In San Francisco, youth repeatedly stormed the headquarters of Pacific Gas and Electric to protest its $50,000 contribution to the Pro 21 campaign. Several Bay Area hip-hop and youth organizations, including San Jose YK, Concord See Beyond, and Third Eye, had involved in the coordination of these protests. As a result, the company had a sit-down meeting with the protesters and had pledged not to give any further support to the Proposition 21 campaign. Chevron, another corporation, similarly claimed neutrality under protest. They represent a form of compromise with the young activists. There is also the No on 21 campaign, organized by the statewide organization Californians for Justice. Its army of young volunteers organized more than 400 volunteers to walk precincts in low-income areas of Oakland, Richmond, San Jose, and Los Angeles, mobilizing more people on the voter lists, especially low-income communities of color. On March 3rd, in Santa Cruz Civic Auditorium in California, rap duo Black Star, Los Angeles hip-hop ensemble Oz Maltoli, and singer Michelle DeGiusello held a benefit concert to battle Proposition 21, raising money for groups opposing the initiative. Hip-hop superstar Lauryn Hill has also offered her support for the cause. Critical Resistance Youth Force, a coalition of youth of color from around the Bay Area, conducted education campaigns in Bay Area schools, staged protests outside Chevron's East Bay headquarters, conducted a voter registration campaign, and joined with local hip-hop organizations and artists to host free concerts and rallies. Individual actions culminated in February 21st to 26th Week of Rage as hundreds of youth coordinated conferences, mass rallies, candlelight vigils, benefit concerts, and arts and film festivals in cities around the state. In this documentary, we included video excerpts of two major protest events. The first event is on March 4th. It was a protest march took place in Los Angeles. In their fight against Proposition 21, youth activists focused on discrepancies between their own lived experience of being an urban youth and the media's representation of that experience, as well as drew particular attention to the ways in which underfunded urban schools and traditional school structures that favor white, upper-class cultures and discourses systematically marginalize, misrepresent, and silence low-income young people of color, discouraging them from active participation in society and civic discourse. Many argued that the media's reliance on negative stereotypes of urban youth to sell stories leads to the construction of a culture of fear, which in turn leads to the justification of provisions like those under Proposition 21 and to increasing spending on incarceration, even when it means fewer dollars will go towards education, rehabilitation, and job development opportunities.
How can they blame youth for what it has become if the system forced us to become this way? The system has made us do this. The system made us go right here and protest. The system made us who we are right now, and they punish us for who they created. Daddy, I don't think that's fair.
Who's gonna end up going to jail? No, I mean, what kind of people?
Us, students, kids.
What about who's in jail right now, man? What kind of people are in jail?
Mexicans and blacks. You don't see whites in jail.
The second event is when it became clear on the evening of March 7th that Proposition 21 has passed by a wide majority. More than 500 protesters shut down San Francisco's Hilton Hotel, protesting at the hotel's support of the initiative. In their mass rally in the street, protesters used hip-hop to represent their voice.
Documents clutter the American dream's murder scene when bullets from number-taking bellows snatch my life off the page like they do my people in SFUSD history books. My voice will be heard, screaming, shouting, proclaiming to the last second, moment, eternity, that they take away the soapbox from under my feet. So I'm here. You may not count me among the masses because I don't assimilate the classes, but I'm here. So while I'm here, I'll take a number.
Protesters then headed to Hilton Hotel. The end result was the Hilton coming out and clarifying their position on Proposition 21. They made it known that it was the president of the Hilton who was backing Proposition 21 and not the chain itself. On the surface, the young activists had failed their objective to achieve a compromise, since eventually California voters passed Proposition 21. Nevertheless, small compromise was still realized in several ways. One example was that their successful protest pushed several corporations to declare neutrality on funding the Pro-21 campaign. Furthermore, influenced by young activists' campaign, San Francisco Bay Area voted by majority against the measure on the voting day, despite its passage by the state. In addition, the County Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles voted to oppose Proposition 21. The theme of compromise was also revealed in a deeper level. From the anti-Proposition 21 campaign, many youth organizations have learned from the mistakes of past campaigns, which lost by playing to the middle, conceding, for example, that affirmative action is a problem and contesting only how to deal with it, with slogans like "Mend it, don't end it." However, their protest against Proposition 21 demonstrated their awareness of the futility of compromise, as they started directly challenging the fundamental justification of the proposition and its rightness. Most importantly, in their conflict with the state authorities, youth activists fused hip-hop, visual art, state performance, and other street performance and other strategies to build community capacity and participated as assets in the decision-making processes that were directly affecting their lives. The creation and promotion of this art and culture enabled them to construct civic identities out of grassroots effort, which not only gave them public voice and representation, but also led to a sustainable youth movement, in which many youths became actively involved in the fight against the juvenile justice system. Slowly but little by little, they had achieved more compromises and successes. Although Proposition 21 was passed, the conflict over the initiative served as a catalyst for young people to organize, build social capital, and to redefine themselves in civic terms. In a way, it is the new civil rights movement.